Yeah, so I'm Mike Antolin. I'm the chair of the biology department, and I'm in the first floor of the new biology building opening for fall 2017.
My name is Rachel Mueller. I'm the associate chair of biology at Colorado State University here in Fort Collins. One of the things we had in mind for this building was we wanted to create a variety of different spaces where students felt happy and felt inspired and felt welcomed. And obviously we want them to learn, but we also want them to grow and enjoy biology in a lot of other ways.
I'm Joe von Fischer. I'm a professor in biology here at Colorado State University. I'm the associate department chair for undergraduate studies. These displays, the idea was that we wanted students to walk by them every day and appreciate that they're pretty pictures, but then to have something deeper going on, something that they would come to understand over the course of their education. We had a lot of great help from Studio Tectonic trying to identify what were the themes that we wanted to display, what was the philosophy, what was the type of displays of information that we wanted to have. Did we want to have something that was just pretty, something that was like a natural history museum? And we worked closely with Studio Tectonic and the group of other faculty to come to an understanding of what the project goals were on the broadest scale.
Inside the classroom, often what we do is we show students something and we tell them what it is and we explain what we know about how it works. And from there, we'll sometimes pick up and tell them, okay, well, we know all these things, but here's a little bit that we don't know. That's kind of the next step. But we're really guiding them through the experience of understanding an image or an object or a model in some way. At some point along the way, a lot of our students get lost in the details and they forget the big picture of kind of the wonder and the spectacle of life. And so we wanted to create a space that helped them reconnect with that wonder.
One of the architectural themes in this building is science on display. And when we were working on the displays here, what we wanted to do was to sort of echo what's going on in the labs and the classrooms. There's a lot of glass here, so you're always looking at live objects. And we wanted this sort of vibrance of students and researchers, which you're seeing live inside of the rooms, to be echoed on the outside. And so I feel like Studio Tectonic was really effective in helping us mimic some of those interior and those human elements here in the displays as well.
I think what we often do as professors is we try to tell people how things work, tell them what to think about them, or at least we have an outcome that we want them to get to when we're presenting them with material. And so I think the reason this has worked for us, but the reason that it was hard for us too, was we really had to take that hat off and we really had to get to a place where we weren't trying to tell people something or tell them what to think or tell them how to feel, but we were just trying to think of presenting them with something that would let them think and feel whatever they wanted.
One of the biggest lessons for me is that our academic instinct would have been to put many more words onto this display than we have. Those who see it will notice that it's fairly minimalist. It's meant to be for discovery. And that's again part of the inspiration that we learned is that you don't inspire people by talking at them or writing at them or making them read, is that people are inspired by things they see and then perhaps connections that they make themselves.
Students are subjected to their professors every day and it gets tiresome. And we wanted some text that was almost poetic. And so Rachel Mueller on our team really led the charge in developing text that I think just cut that just right and helping to invoke the feeling of what it's like to appreciate biology in each of these displays.
There are three things this display should do. One is it should just be gorgeous. Any person walking in here should simply be gobsmacked by the beauty of the things that we're showing and depicting. The second one is that we should have general themes, organization in biology, processes in biology and things like that, things that people could on the second reading understand. And then the third part is that the images and the objects are very deliberately chosen in the sense that after initial awe and secondary understanding, there are going to be additional levels of understanding.
I think we started first just thinking about how diverse a field biology is and kind of setting up as many axes as we could, tiny to big, local to global, ancient to contemporary, things that we have in common across species, things that are different across species. So we started with all of those different axes and we tried to think through themes that could represent all of biology from molecules up to ecosystems. The next thing we tried to do was think about, well, what would we actually show that would depict that theme?
We threw out thousands of ideas and photos and artifacts because they departed from the ideas that we were aiming for. We were dogged in sticking to those notions, and I think that a part of our success came from that.
And there were some things that were beautiful but didn't fit the themes, and there were some things that fit the themes that weren't particularly beautiful. So we had a kind of a hodgepodge of finding things, going out into the world and getting things, and in some cases making things ourselves in our own lab. So one of the things that we wanted to do too was create a display that would give students a little bit of a peek into what that scientific tool looks like. And so we created a museum case with the drawers open a little bit so that you can look at a whole bunch of individuals of the same species, but if you see them all next to each other, you start to realize the variation that exists across individuals.
Well, another favorite display element is, of course, this bee. Everybody, I think, knows that the bees do something called a waggle dance, where they, if they return from a foraging trip, they communicate with other bees about where it was that they found their source of nectar. And so they communicate that using something called a waggle dance. And it's both scientifically really interesting, and we wanted to make something a little playful, something where people could have a real interaction. And it's a little bit childlike, but who of us isn't?
We had a case oriented around the idea of the spiral and the fact that a lot of things in nature tend to grow constrained by the same geometry. So what we did there was we took a lot of artifacts that are very different: plants, animals, shells, horns. We have different sticks where the buds of those sticks are growing according to a mathematical sequence. We also have different shells and a ram's horn that too, when they grow, they end up having the same sort of geometrical spiral pattern. I like seeing the students come up and look at the different cases and try to figure out what they're looking at, because we don't tell them. I had a student who walked over to the case of cleared and stained things, and she looked at it and she said, "Oh, I think that one is I think that's a horny toad, and I think they squirt blood out of their eyes. I think I learned that in my class." So that's been really fun.
Just today I had a CSU student walk through who said, "Oh my God, this must be the most beautiful building on campus, isn't it?" And I think that sense largely came from the experience people have when they first walk in. That impression, oh my God, biology is cool, and these guys are here to communicate that.
I'm actually hearing exactly the first reaction that we were looking for. The composition, the color of the objects is just stunning.
People really, they like it. They like the fact that they can find their own meaning in it, and they can stare at it for a long time and find something new each time. They seem to like that they don't necessarily know what they're looking at all the time. It's generated a lot of excitement. People are having ideas about how they can use it in their classes and how they can have, students tell how they experience it differently walking in as freshmen, and then 4 years later when they graduate with a biology and they've learned all these stuff, and they'll obviously see many more layers of meaning and complexity in the displays.
When people walk through this building, I think they feel that sense of awe that we were trying to communicate. The feedback we've had has been overwhelmingly positive.
We could not have asked for a better design team. They were fantastic. They guided us through this process of trying to understand what we wanted to do for our students, and then pulling all this knowledge out of our minds and then translating it into something that was visually stunning that we never could have done ourselves. So it was a total joy, start to finish.
I think the collaboration that we had and the ability to tell a story, and I think that it's a subtle story. I think that's the part that really works, is that it's beautiful, but I think people are immediately noticing the nuance that's lying under the surface. I really want to thank Studio Tectonic. I think the quality of the work that Studio Tectonic did is absolutely amazing. The people that Studio Tectonic brought along, Dennis from Denver and the taxidermist from LA and the Acme Group, and Mark from Ashland, Oregon, were just fabulously interesting people to work with on this, and it was really our pleasure and privilege to be able to do so.
It was such a joy. It's so fun to be able to create something that so many people see every day, that has such an impact on the feel and the vibe of the community. It was a pleasure. It was an honor.